This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
And welcome to the program. I'm Roby Brock. We appreciate you tuning in. Well, state lawmakers spent the last week and a few extra days at the state capitol talking about congressional redistricting and a plethora of COVID-19 related bills. Here to kind of break some of this all down is KATV senior political reporter Marine Glisovic. Marine, good to see you. Thanks for being with us.
Good to see you, Roby, as always.
All right, let's talk about this final congressional map that they finally agreed to. It specifically does what?
Well, at this point, it has split just two counties within the state. Sebastian County remains split, and then now you've got Pulaski County that's actually being split into three districts, the first, the second, and the fourth at this point. And so there were many maps, I think 30-something bills that were filed. Finally, they came to a consensus, but it took pretty much a week and almost a day or so for them to reach this consensus. And not everybody is pleased with the way that the maps were drawn.
Right. Let's talk about some of those folks that aren't pleased. We do expect litigation over this final map because of the Pulaski County split there. Tell me what kind of the debate was on the reasons for that.
Well, the debate at that point was the way that they split Pulaski County. It actually has split certain minority communities into different districts. And the argument against splitting it that way was just the fact that it would disenfranchise African-American voters as well as the poor communities. They would not have as much representation. Those who supported the way that this was drawn say that it wasn't about race, it was just about population. They argued that that was not the intent. However, whether intent was there, in a legal battle, the impact is what those against it were saying. It's about the impact.
Yeah, we're going to see some litigation over this. There's no doubt. We'll find out who all's involved, I suspect, pretty soon. All right, there was a lot of COVID-19 legislation that was debated, and there was a lot of debate over allowing COVID-19 legislation to be debated. I'm not going to mire you down with all of the details on that, much less all of the procedural stuff you had to deal with this past week in watching it. But what was the gist of what got through and is probably heading to the governor for signature?
So we've got two bills identical. One's House version, one's a Senate version. They've been delivered to the governor at this point. And what it does is that it creates options for employees if they do not want to take the COVID-19 vaccine. Now, it only applies to businesses if the employer actually mandates one. So your employer mandates it. They also have to give you the option now to either do a weekly test to show that you tested negative or prove immunity by doing an antibody test every 6 months. A lot of argument was made on who's going to pay for this, how is this going to be funded. At this point, it's unclear who, they don't have COVID-19 relief funds available. However, if some do become available, DFNA is tasked with coming up with some type of mechanism of who they're going to reimburse and who they're going to pay. But that's only if your insurance doesn't cover it. So that was one of the arguments, is who's going to pay for this. And those against it, you had a lot of even Republican lawmakers who were against it, citing the fact that we're against mandates, but now you want to go put a mandate on a business to tell them how to handle, a COVID-19 mandate. So it was just very interesting, but it definitely, it got through and lots of motions were made, as you mentioned, procedural things, but both bills went to the governor's desk without emergency clause, I might add. Yeah. One of the hangups. They wanted this emergency clause to go in effect immediately or 5 days after, but it'll be 90 days before this kicks in.
So we will see the end of the session soon. They will recess, but have to come back and sine die, and that I think will happen. But then what's next for the legislature? There's talk about a potential special session from the governor.
Yes, so the governor has indicated that he would like to call a special session on tax reform. However, when he calls it, what's going to happen, when they're going to meet, there's just no telling at this point.
Yeah, probably best that they take a break from each other after this last week and a half at the state capitol. She is Marine Glisovic. She is KATV senior political reporter. She's a Talk Business and Politics contributor as well. Thank you, Marine. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Roby.
All right, we're back with more right after this.